The cold didn't just sting her skin, it felt like it was swallowing her whole. On a deserted Chicago street layered with untouched white, Marissa collapsed into the snow as if the world had finally grown too heavy to carry. Her breath trembled in the freezing air, her hair clinging to her tear-streaked face, her thin dress torn from a desperate escape she never planned to make. The city moved around her in a muffled blur, the snowfall quieting everything but the thundering ache inside her chest. She felt invisible to the world, a small, broken figure fading into winter's breath. And then, when she thought she would simply disappear into the cold, footsteps rushed toward her, stopping just beside her trembling form. A stranger knelt down in front of her, slowly, gently, as if approaching a wounded bird. And for the first time in hours, warmth, real, human warmth, reached her. If you believe the world still has kindness, compassion, and second chances, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to the channel to support stories that remind us of the good still left in humanity. Marissa Whitmore had not always been fragile. She once worked as a medical assistant at a community clinic on Chicago's North Side, living a quiet life in a modest apartment where the radiator clicked at night and the scent of cinnamon candles softened the winter air. But life has a way of unraveling quietly before it tears apart loudly. The person she trusted most, her once loving partner, had slowly turned into someone she didn't recognize, someone whose words cut deeper each month, someone who found ways to isolate her until she doubted the ground beneath her own feet. She stayed longer than she should have, believing she could fix what was broken, believing loyalty meant endurance, even through pain. But the night everything shattered began with a slammed door, a rising storm of accusations, and a fear she couldn't hide anymore. She ran. No coat, no shoes, just instinct and adrenaline pushing her into the icy night. She sprinted across alleys, sidewalks, and empty intersections, her feet burning and then numbing against the snow. She didn't have a destination. She only had the desperate need to survive the moment. But after several blocks, her strength gave way. Her knees buckled, her breath crumbled into sobs she could no longer contain, and the snow welcomed her collapse, ironically soft and painfully cold at the same time. As she lay there, her vision swimming, she wondered if this was how her story ended, not with a final scream or dramatic flare, but with quiet surrender under streetlights flickering in the winter wind. She wondered if anyone would care, or even notice, if she disappeared beneath the storm. But someone did notice. His name was Aaron Kim, a physical therapist who had been walking home from his late shift at the rehabilitation center on the edge of downtown. He saw the shape in the snow before he realized it was a woman, barefoot, shaking, and struggling to breathe. Concern overpowered hesitation as he hurried toward her, kneeling down and removing his thick jacket to wrap around her shivering frame. In that moment, his presence felt like an anchor in a world where she had drifted too far away. Marissa didn't know why she allowed him to help her. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe instinct, maybe the human heart, in its final moments of strength, still knows how to recognize gentleness. Aaron supported her carefully, guiding her to sit upright as he shielded her from the falling snow. He didn't need words to convey his sincerity. His steady hands and the urgency in his gaze told her she was safe, at least safer than she had been minutes earlier. The city glowed faintly behind them, cars moving slowly through the snowfall like silent witnesses. Aaron checked her pulse, her temperature, the clarity of her eyes. Small assessments meant to ensure she wasn't slipping too far into hypothermia. His training had prepared him for injuries, but nothing had prepared him for the emotional weight of her trembling, the vulnerability in her expression, or the bruise forming beneath her collarbone. He guided her to his car parked just down the block and turned the heat on high, letting her warm up while he handed her a pair of emergency socks he kept in the glove compartment. Of all the things she expected from the world that night, kindness from a stranger had not been one of them. Once Marissa's breathing steadied and her hands began to warm, the numbness in her heart slowly thawed enough for her to process the enormity of what she had just survived. She felt humiliation, fear, and relief tangled together in a knot within her chest. For the first time, she admitted to herself that she couldn't go back home, not to the place that had slowly poisoned her spirit. She needed help, and asking for it felt both terrifying and inevitable. Aaron, noticing her spiraling expression, offered quiet reassurance through his steady presence. He didn't pry, didn't push her to talk, didn't judge her torn dress or the pain etched across her skin. He simply offered warmth, literal and emotional, until she felt human again. He drove her to a nearby women's shelter where he volunteered twice a month. The warmth of the lobby, the soft murmur of staff members, and the gentle smiles she received made her eyes sting with new tears, this time not from pain, but from being seen. The staff welcomed her, offered her clean clothes, food, and a place to rest. Aaron stayed only until he knew she was safe enough to release from his protective worry, leaving her with a soft blanket and a promise written only in the kindness of his eyes. The following days were steeped in quiet healing. Marissa attended counseling sessions, met other women with stories similar to hers, and slowly began to piece together the fragments of her shattered confidence. She prayed again for the first time in years, whispered hopeful words into the silence, and allowed faith to fill the cavities where fear once lived. She didn't expect to see Aaron again, but he visited the shelter the following week, bringing winter supplies and a gentle smile she had not forgotten. Their conversations were simple but meaningful, rooted not in obligation but in genuine connection. And piece by piece, she began to rebuild herself, with courage she had forgotten she possessed. As weeks turned into months, Marissa found a new job at a community youth center, helping at-risk teens navigate challenges that mirrored her own past. Her voice grew stronger, her steps more certain, her heart more open. Aaron remained in her life, not as a savior, but as a friend who believed in her long before she rediscovered her own worth. Their bond deepened naturally, filled with small moments of understanding and silent gratitude. And yet, she never forgot the night that changed everything. The night she fell into the snow and thought her story had ended, only for a stranger's warmth to give her a new beginning. If this journey moved you, if it reminded you of the power of kindness, healing, and human compassion, please take a moment to like this video, share it, subscribe, and leave a heartfelt comment. Your engagement helps these meaningful stories reach more people who may need them. Before we close, here's a special request. Comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. In the end, Marissa's life didn't simply return to what it once was. It became something stronger, braver, and more beautiful. She learned that even in the coldest seasons of life, warmth still exists. Sometimes it arrives in the form of a stranger kneeling in the snow. Sometimes it begins with choosing to stand again. And sometimes it leads us to the very people who help us remember who we were always meant to be.